This video is sponsored by WizSmart. How many of you are still using pads like this? Stop it. I mean, they're thin, they're flimsy, they're messy, they move around everywhere and you have to constantly replace them. That's different. What is this? That's really stuck to the floor. Well, this changes everything. Those pads will never work for me because I have a boy dog and he lifts his leg. Don't you see? That's the miracle here. These can stick to just about anything and can be optimized for any dog to pee any way they want. WizSmart dog pads are the only ones that have stay put tabs. If your pad isn't stuck to the floor, you risk this happening. Oh, and by the way, they happen to be way more absorbent than any other potty pad out there. The great thing about these is that you only have to use 1 or 2 WizSmart pads per day, since these are ridiculously absorbent. If you want to get the best dog pads, get WizSmart pads. They're the only ones with stay put tabs. I'm gonna have a link in the description below. Where's the dog? There she is. Look at that flexibility. Click thumbs up for Cessna the Pomeranian. For more dog training tips, follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my channel too. It's completely free. You'll learn how to train your dog and get a copy of my book. It makes a great companion to these videos. Lots of you are having issues with potty training. Look, I totally get it. Let's cover the top 7 reasons that you're having trouble house training your dog and how to fix it. Number 1, you're giving your dog too much freedom too early. Yeah, you. This is by far the easiest mistake to make. I mean, it's easy to assume that if your dog's inside that they're in a controlled environment. You'll need to methodically control their environment by having them on leash like this. I mean, that should be the case most of the time, but when that's impractical, you should have them in an otherwise controlled environment, like a crate or puppy-proof room. Having your dog on leash like this prevents them from sneaking off into the other room, and it puts you in the ideal position to offer feedback to your dog, to let them know what you like and what you'd prefer they not do. Number 2, you're expecting your dog to let you know when they have to go. You shouldn't expect a dog new to house training to automatically alert you when they have to do their business. Dogs don't instinctively understand that you want them to go in a specific area, so it's on you to show them where to go over a prolonged period of time. Let's put things in perspective. I mean, you wouldn't expect a 3-month-old child to let you know when they have to go, right? Then why would you hold a dog to such a high standard so early on in the training process? Number 3, you're not taking your dog out frequently enough. Whoa, look at this. In general, you should give your dog the opportunity to go in the appropriate place 2 to 3 times more often than you think they need to go. Now, I understand that you'd rather they go every time you give them the opportunity in order to optimize your time. And as counterintuitive as it seems, by taking your time and going the extra mile here, you'll actually potty train your dog a lot quicker. Your job is to give them the opportunity to relieve themselves before they even realize they have to go. This is also how you're going to teach them to develop a preference to various textures, whether it's grass or pee pads or any other texture that you want them to go on. Remember, dogs develop preferences to textures, so that's one of the big goals during this period of training. Number 4, you're expecting them to generalize too quickly. Dogs don't easily generalize where to do their business, so you have to methodically show them where they can and can't go. For example, your dog might quickly come to realize that, okay, the living room is off limits, but that won't necessarily prevent them from going off to a spare bedroom to relieve themselves. In other words, dogs don't generalize that your entire house is off limits from peeing and pooping at one time. It's a really gradual process. Generally, if you're following my house training advice, the more time that a dog spends in a specific area of the house, the less likely they are to have accidents in those parts of the house. Number 5, you're relying too much on correcting your dog instead of teaching them. This mistake is common throughout all of dog training, not just house training. I mean, how many times have you heard that you should show your dog their mess and then scold them when they have an accident in the house? There's no data really showing that this is effective at all. In fact, it'll likely hinder your bond and slow down your overall training. Look, nobody's perfect, but if your dog has an accident in the house, it's important for you to take accountability and understand that it's 100% your fault, not theirs. So you'll just need to follow my house training advice and be more proactive moving forward. Number 6, adjust your expectations. A new dog has a lot to learn over the coming years. They'll need to understand how to behave in various contexts, how to listen to you in different environments, and many other things. Just as we don't establish certain habits in a couple of weeks, nor does a dog brand new to training understand that they're to behave a certain way consistently forever. Establishing a good habit, in this case house training your dog, requires tons of repetition by proactively showing them when and where you want them to go. You're not out of the woods on house training for an entire year. Now look, you might be able to get 80% there within just a few weeks, but you do not want to let your guard down for a full year. Number 7, your dog tears up potty pads. Now if your dog likes to tear up pee pads, there are some things you can do to reverse that habit. First, make sure that when you put the pads down, you do it while your dog is in the other room. Sometimes if you take the pads out and your dog sees you doing that, they might associate that with a toy, because how often do you take something out and give it to your dog? We want to try to get that out of their head. For the first several weeks of house training, don't allow your dog to access the pads unless you're directly supervising them, again, ideally on leash. That way you can prevent them from digging at the pads and nip those bad habits in the bud before they even get started. And when you're supervising your dog like that, you're in a position to get their eyes on you and give them a reward for paying attention to you. If you do have to leave your dog alone unattended, then you should have them in a safe area like a crate or dog-proofed area in the house, and only under supervision should you let them go to the pee pads, and you should be letting them out or guiding them to their WizSmart pee pads every few hours, say when you come home from lunch and when you get off of work. In other words, it's not realistic to expect your dog to just leave these pads alone when you're not supervising them until you've done extensive house training with them and really shown them how these pads are to be used. And of course, exercise just before leaving your dog alone for significant periods of time is likely to do wonders in terms of keeping them content and happy. Get the best dog pads out there, WizSmart dog pads, the only ones with stay put tabs. I'll have a link in the description below. Click thumbs up for Cessna, subscribe to my channel, get more dog training tips on Instagram, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Good job, Cessna.